Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am Legion for Dying Light 1 and 2. Only now we have the ongoing development of the Infinity Designer. So welcome back to another episode of the Infinity Designer. I wanted to jump on and I'm continuing to refine and update some of the code, and I'm just sitting here messing around and fixing a lot of things with the materials, and I thought I'd go ahead and stream out so that you guys can jump on. Happy Friday, everyone. It's been a crazy week, but some of the things that have happened this week, the I Am Legion Reborn roadmap was just released, so the new one for here for 2024 was just released. And also, let me just double check here. I am not seeing my stream. Let me make sure. I swear it's like every time I have to make sure that this is actually working, so I apologize. There we go. All right, we are live. Awesome. I just wanted to double check that. So I'm going to continue to go through here. Like I was saying, the I Am Legion Reborn roadmap for 2024 was released this weekend. We have the 1.1 version of the Infinity Designer that was also released this week. We have a lot of exciting updates coming, and I want to hear your guys' feedback, get your guys' thoughts. And just hang out for a little while. So I'm going to be working on some of the materials and just kind of hanging out. You're welcome to come in and just chat and let me know what you guys think about the latest version of I Am Legion Reborn and also the Infinity Designer. So what I was going through and doing earlier, there's this thing where the skeleton presets, basically when you're saving your file, it's going through and it's using my code to determine how it outputs the skeleton system for the player. And when you're actually saving, it's doing this based on whether you've selected the player category or if you've selected one of the other categories. I did just recently add the ability for the physics skeleton to be used. And so that will be coming with this latest update, but that is not currently in there. Also, let me go ahead and share this so if anybody wants to jump on and give feedback. Okay, just sharing this out really quick. Awesome. Hey, Zeno, how's it going, man? Thanks for jumping on the stream. So when you go through the presets and you're loading in, so there's a lot of things happening on the background, or in the background rather, where it's going and it's actually selecting the appropriate skeleton when outputting the file. And I've tried to set up so there's now a list, or there's always been a list, but there's now a list for the player physics skeleton that hopefully when you guys go through and you're selecting the different models in the sliders here, it will actually automatically switch your player model over to the physics skeleton if it needs to. But that's always one of those things where you can very quickly mess up your model if you selected the physics rig and it doesn't actually work with all the other things that are on the model. At least that was the case back when I first started messing around with the physics model. I don't know if it's still like that, but definitely something that I'll want to continue to look at as we go here. But hopefully by adding that, at least very specific ones will now show up when exporting. And so what I'm doing is that basically I wrote this new algorithm that it runs through, and when I actually, so I have several tools here, that this tool in particular, when it's running through and trying to create all the different materials, it's also trying to match a lot of the different names that of materials that do not have textures by filling in those blank or missing materials. And it has worked really well, but it has caused several of the models to end up with additional data that's not necessarily needed. And so I have started going back through and kind of one by one started cleaning those up. But I did just fix Hakon's, now his little glow stick. I noticed his glow stick wasn't working, and a couple of more details on him. So I just fixed those. And I'm just going to be going through and trying to fix, there's still things like these different pants and boots and that kind of thing that are still missing. But I'm going to try to find the ones that have the longest impact, because there are still quite a few in the system that I'm not going to do it all night, but we will take another stab at trying to get some of these improved. I think with this one, it got this gradient file that I'm not entirely sure if that gradient is helping or not. Let's see here. Hey Lucas, thanks for jumping on, man. So I'm just going through and showing how there's a couple of different ones in here. I'm kind of just showing how I'm fixing each one of these as we go through, just getting feedback from everybody. There's all these little ones that, these materials here and there that just cannot get a match. So let's see, this is going to be the night vibes. So if we go in here, say vibes. And then over here. So there is no bracer for the night vibes, so what we'll probably need to do is, sometimes they include these with the other textures that they create. So I think that's why, is because they named this one right instead of, so the material itself is named bracer, yeah, but they added a right into the name, and that just messed up the match. Not a big deal, but it just has to kind of manually be set. And then this one also glows, so we'll actually switch this over to the skin shader so we can get this emissive on here. There we go. So it has that little bit of glow to it. It's kind of cool. And I think, You know, actually that is the regular color. I thought that looked a little bit darker than it needed to, but that is actually the Jet 1. I know this mask, I think this hair up here is, yeah. So let's fix that one. Cracker. And basically, so like one of the biggest challenges is that basically it doesn't have a unique hair. What they've done is they basically have just used a hair that's in the game. And so you can just get any of the standard hair textures to fix it. So we're going to switch the shader over to hair. And let's just go through and hook up the basic one and see if that helps. So we use this gray. Hope you guys all had a good week and everything's wrapping up. This week has definitely been crazy. Let's see, spec. Yeah, and so that fixes it. Now, I don't know whether or not that's the, you know, whether they have gray or if they have a white on there. So what we could probably do here is, let's go in here and say hair, and then just say like white. There we go. That looks better. Most of these guys, so all the opera characters, they basically needed a lot of love. All the older versions are now fixed. So most of these ones in here, I need to go through and take all the screenshots again. Let's see if we can find the leggings here. Yeah, so it's probably the wrestler leggings. So let's see, skull face. Which I think it was funny when they first released the game. When they first released the game, I know that a lot of people were like, really? Leggings? On all of these armors. And so now you can go through, and if you didn't like the leggings design, you can go through and switch that to whatever else. But I know a few people had mentioned that on the server. Like, really? Let's see. So you finally got this awesome Haran outfit with the paint and everything on it, but then also some tights. So you can wear it in style. So let's go and reload this. I got it. No, I don't know if that's the right color for this one. Looks like it's like a burgundy red at the current index. Let's just kind of move through the index here a little bit and just kind of see what pops up. I think I have seen that one, and I believe that is actually like a darkish red here. Yeah, like that. I think that's about right. It's better than it not working. So then, I know this is the one I was specifically referring to, that a lot of people were like, hell yeah, finally get the mask. And then the tights to go with it. And then this biomarker thing is still showing up. So here are these bracers. You can see that basically the everything's on there appropriately. I think the biggest issue is that it just, the index itself is, let's go grab this material and see if we can, because I know this tank bracer is actually kind of common. it's just a pain in the ass. I mean, like you can see here, for those of you that, let me make sure, yeah, you can actually see the scrolling list. The bracers here, just this huge list of different variations that they added to these bracers, and then the actual gradient that is used has to be dialed in, kind of thing. So let's just see. I think that actually turned it yellow. So which one actually is this? Let's see, bracers, wrestler, C. I'm not messing with that one, I'm messing with... So let's see. Say, wrestler. Oh, that's why it's not tank, it's just wrestler. It's a lot of different colors applied to those different ones. We remove that index, you see it all kind of just becomes like gray. Let's do something like this and just see. I think I would rather have it just a generic gray until I get the actual color that's applied to it. And most of the time, the easiest way to do this is you just apply this to the player character and then you just load into the game to kind of see how it turned out and see if it's as close as you think it might be to the actual end game. But sadly, there's no way of knowing until you load in. That doesn't look right. Maybe that is. Yeah, that is right. And then most of these player ones are not a lost cause. It's just there's a lot of different color variations that they made for these that I'm going to have to go through and like launch the game and check every single one of these. So they're all kind of generic for now just because I haven't gone through and dialed every single one of those in. So once I get like the next round kind of situated, so the players are starting to look a lot better. There's a lot more of these are looking correct. There's still a few things here and there that are not perfect, but so essentially once I get this where I want it, I can then go in here and press F11 and it starts taking photos for me. That jacket is always, so that one's, I'm gonna have to check the jacket on there for the Colonel's Men. They have a black mask that applies that makes those arms turn completely black, but I'm not sure if that's right or not. And essentially once we get down to all the generic ones, they're the test player ones, I'll just stop it. So the sleeves, for those of you who have been using the software, you may have noticed that like the sleeves do this thing where they sometimes show up white or they just don't get applied. there's this really interesting thing that I've found in the code where I think when they first started out, some of the sleeves were actually independent of the torso, and then over time they may have moved other pieces. They may have moved some of those models and pieces around, but the JSON data kind of stayed the same, which results in them basically trying to apply a material to a child that doesn't, not a child, but a child renderer essentially. So it tries to apply it to something that doesn't exist. And so you end up with that, one sleeve working, one sleeve not working thing. So let's see here. Still didn't get all of them. And then I know the Rise torso. So I also think that with my documentation screenshot system, it may not always give enough time to fully load the model before it takes the screenshot. I'm going to have to adjust the timing there. It's using threading, so for those of you who are aware, the timing issues there can be a challenge, but works wonders when it works. But I can see there's several on here that look like they haven't loaded in all the way here. And so if we go here on the sliders, so basically when you're loading any one of these, I think the issue is that they essentially came up with these arms that this is the wrestler arm wrapper left, and I guess the issue is that there's too many accessories that they're trying to add, and then also add these arms, and so essentially it just runs out of slots, which you can go and adjust or add to fix the issue, but still looking at the best way to do it to just continue to support as many slots as possible without ending up with naming errors or output issues. So here's our Rise, and then you can see here his stomach is not right. When they released the different torso pieces, it was kind of funny because they didn't actually have like a easy way to find a bare chest because it was part of the opera kit, and so I actually found it, or at least I think I did. Let's see if this fixes it. So we're going to say not quite. Muscular. So this is still not the right one, I guess. Yeah. Dang. Alright, well that worked for the other ones. Let's see if any of these other ones are it. And you can kind of see from the UV that it is its own torso that's apparently, you know, very long compared to, you already have these skinny textures that are on here, but for this one I can't seem to locate what goes on there. Which it should still show up fine in the game, obviously. It's just interesting that I haven't been able to figure out what they're calling for this one guy. Alright, let's see. What's some of the other ones that are known to be broken? I think for the most part, I went through before this last update and fixed a lot of these. Yeah, that didn't look right. So let's see here. So we have all those, so all of these different ones are all the same piece, but they have slight variations. I think the issue is that a normal map is getting messed up. So if we go in here and say, there we go, so it's pattern A. That looks better. There we go. one part. And see pattern. There we go. Okay, so that gets the top and the bottom there. Now we do the sleeves. Makes a big difference, and there's so many different characters that use this one, so I'm hoping this has a lot of uses here. Oh, good. Well, actually, so say unload and reload. Looks a lot better. And then that also reminds me, so for the hats, it is properly binding these to the actual skeleton, but then let's fix these while we're here. So say I shadow. These are going to use shadow. And then we're also going to set this to be a transparent texture so it doesn't really layer on top of our other pieces. They have these like different pieces on here that will allow the players to like cry or do different things based on the story. So what is causing that? It's going to be so that one's I let all of these will get changed to decals and then transparent. And last but not least, I think is the eyelashes. Which is definitely wrong. Let's see, so we're going to change this to skin and then opaque. And actually, we're probably going to switch this to a decal. Has better settings for the transparency here. Let's say eyelashes. You actually have to go pretty low on that alpha threshold for that mask to actually work properly. So then let's go back and let's reload him. And it needs to just be enough to where we can get kind of some color. For here, let's do like a black. Let's just do a black here. And then let's reload him and see. Still getting kind of this white, so we're going to do double-sided for sure. And then maybe actually we'll throw on transparency and see if that... Transparent... See if that does any better. It's just enough to where, like, we really don't want it to show up, but at the same time, it's like, if you come in here and focus on the head, you want to get just a little bit of the eyelashes. So anyway, back to what I was going to say a second ago, is that it is binding properly to the skeleton at this point. It's not getting the update. I still haven't gotten animations working how I'd like to, but with the... One second. So basically, it's getting bound to the skeleton, but every individual, each individual person is going to have like an offset, and I was going to check here. So we do have this random skeleton loaded in really quick. Let's see. I might start trying to find a mount point on every skeleton that I can kind of start to use. Maybe even get like a center point off of these different pieces, because I've noticed they've got these like different bones. The problem is do those bones exist for every single skeleton? Because it'll basically fail if I try to find those very specific ones and they don't have it for each one. But you can see right there they've added like a bone to essentially the entire ridge line, so technically you could get, looks like you could actually get the different parts of the head here. Yeah, they have these like center, so they have left and then they have the center ones. So if you got maybe the midpoint of like all of these different bones, maybe you would end up with a perfect position in the middle of their skull that you could then add like a transform offset to the hat for every skeleton, assuming that these exist for every skeleton. So something I'll have to look at, but that should help place the hats perfectly on their head so that it no longer clips through it at the top. That being said, I haven't launched with every hat, so I wouldn't want to give the false hope that every hat would properly go on every head. And so that's something that I'll also have to look at, because if they look right in the Infinity Designer, but then you launch the game and it's messed up, that could be frustrating. It's like somewhat luckily they use the same primary clothing pieces over and over and over again for their current NPCs, so luckily you don't have to struggle too much to get, you only have to make a couple of changes to get long-term or large-scale improvements. Torso. So what are the sleeves? Still super bummed that I had high hopes that if I set this for one, if I set everything to one index, I was really hoping that it would kind of apply to all the different pieces and they would all look better. But it does seem like each individual one kind of has to be like dialed in. So like for this guy, so you can see where the index is like, it's like stuck right there in between. So if we go here and remove some of these, like right there. So 0.15 and 0, 0. This guy's got a shine that's coming from somewhere. Yeah, I didn't think so. It's definitely not the right spec map. There we go. It's better. Though sadly, it looks like the they all use the same gradient. Each one is on a different gradient. That would be it. There we go. Again, even if the color itself isn't 100% proper, it still helps eliminate a lot of the like visual oddities. And then the different shaders work a little bit different. So like for example with this, I know I fixed the ones that were, fixed these other ones the other day, or at least I thought I did. Apparently not. All of these just need to be changed to skin. You would hope that even the, you would think that even the naming conventions would allow you to know whether it's skin or clothing, but sadly not so much. I've always been curious why So fat, tan, fat, tan. That would be why. Okay, so for all of these, hit lock. They all need their normal map and their rough map. What are these pants? Huh. Yeah, those are definitely not right. So let's see. Man, PK, wags, C. So copy, paste. Yeah, so it does have its own texture here, so we'll just make sure it has the right texture. That, and then let's go ahead and do something like that and just see how that looks. We'd have to get the actual color to know how that's supposed to look, that pattern. It's like an interesting one. It's like they added a very specific pattern to like almost some jeans or something. I definitely wanted to start with the wrestlers. So I feel like these guys have been broken for a minute. I don't know how many people are actually messing with or changing these guys. These are looking a lot better. Let's fix these feathers here. And then we'll set all of these to decals. Turn on the alpha clipping. Yeah. It's a little better. The lighting is still a little weird on them. It's almost like they have like flip normals or something. Huh. I think with some of these, it's better to have simple baseline things that actually look at least to the point where you can understand kind of how it's going to show up in the game, versus having it be like the exact match. And by that I mean if you can't find an easy match, I guess it's better to have it look at least somewhat similar or relative to the baseline thing than it is to have it look like something completely different that doesn't look right. Let's see here. There we go. Certainly enjoy their leather over there. There's another one that, let's see, man hands. So I think it's the decal blend causing that. It's interesting because the skin here, that'd be why. Yeah, I think what happened is that I ended up getting a lot more of the complex materials, but ended up messing up a few of the baseline ones that were already working. Let's see here. And we'll go and we'll clear the index here, the offset rather. Just basically trying to get a color that works across all three without causing any of the that index tearing when it's like in between a value. I don't think I ever remember seeing that decal. Hey, Lucas. Hey, thanks, man. Hope you have a good night. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good weekend. So with like this one, it doesn't show. Okay, so it is using. So all of A essentially uses the same map, but AB does not. So. There it is. And then we'll go ahead and reset this. So what I'm looking at here is that it looks like only half of the torso is actually getting this this black material applied to it. Other parts are missing it, so we have the sleeve. Yeah, like the front top, so you can see here, and this is an abandoned model. It's just strange that parts of it didn't actually receive that black mask, which would actually make the entire hoodie black. There's only specific parts of it, which is strange. Okay, so that's going down through the presets. I think I'm going to actually just start kind of going through the different clothing articles here. And then this is my actual balancing sheet that is going through and sorting. So it basically has a pros, or it has a look for term, and then it has an exclusion term, and as many terms as you want. And kind of the idea is that as I go through and I find where the filter is allowing a certain one through, I just basically remove that value from the immediate list. And what it'll do is when I run filter the next time, it'll go through and fix that issue.
He's moving.
Not bad. Where's the fisheye? Smash the tunnel.
Not so fat. I've lived in this. Over here.
Oh, you do know the moves.
I was in the military
Special unit?
for 7 years. I even liked it, except when I didn't. For insubordination, got blacklisted and they zeroed my bank account. I ended up driving a cab.
Ouch. How the mighty have fallen.
Fuck you! At least I got to know my way around the city. Oh, come on! You're too weak. Without an inhibitor, you won't last.
Didn't I smash everything in sight last time you gave it to me?
That was just the first time. But then it gets better. If you survive, of course. Catch!
You're telling me I could have died?
If I hadn't given it to you, you would have died anyway.
Hey, Pedro, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Have you gotten a chance to use the tool yet? Maybe the issue. I feel that. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for keeping tune with progress. That's awesome. So it looks like I need to actually create a secondary pant slot. So that you can layer these two things on top of each other like this. So we'll create a legs 2, and then we will create in the, let's close this, we'll hit save, and then under the character writer we have to go add a second legs, which I don't think this will cause too much of an issue here. So we say all. Yeah, legs doesn't have a fallback, so we'll do legs part 1. And then for our filter, say legs 2 will show up under our legs. And then last but not least, need to go back to scenes start. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining. Thanks for dropping in. Hope you check out the mod here with 1.6 when it drops. When I rebuild the data, now I always make sure to use the same setting that is in the start menu, just so that way when you guys run it, you're getting the exact same results that I would as well. Please healer close. And then I do have to do some nitpicking just because I have manually modified a couple of these different JSONs, and so it's like, which I shouldn't have done. I should have done only what could be computed, but oh wait, no, I see, I actually needed that one. So the goal here is there'll be a new legs 2 slider here, and what that should allow is better better pairing on top of different pants. So currently there's a lot of pants in the game that, you know, you basically have these all-in-one solutions where they have the boots and everything connected to it. What I'm trying to do is actually go through and set things up to where you can now disable the different boots and everything using the null value. And then once you've done that, I think the rest of these are, yeah. So at least up to here. Okay, that should be it. Because for my one guy there, I definitely want those skinny biter legs to kind of be the feet. I don't want him to actually wear shoes. And I don't know yet how much of a torn look we can add to different pairs of pants, but we'll have to check that out as well. So if we go in here and say all, it's going to be a combination of human and infected. And then now underneath our legs, we now have legs 2, which it doesn't have the localization, which is why it shows up like that. It's because it doesn't actually have a, it hasn't been added to the Excel sheet. But what this should do now is actually can see it already, I think. Let's see here. So this one is worker legs, and this is skinny legs. So now we should be able to actually find our, let's remove both, and then we'll go in here. The first one, we'll do the skinny biter legs, these guys. And the next one, we will do some actual pants. You could do something like, no, because the back there. I guess whatever it is it needs to have. So then you can go here to the worker boots and turn those off, and you can see now we get the feet actually sticking out the bottom there. That's actually what I was trying to go for. And so far, I'm really perplexed. We'll look this up together. So in the mod, I was able to turn off the gas mask effect, and I was able to do that by writing it by hand. But when I load in and look at these guys using the Infinity Designer, it always has the lines on the face. So it needs the... Oh, I think that's why. So under the diffuse one, and it's actually interesting. So I've done this under, I don't think that would have actually worked for the rest of these. But let's see. So what I did was replace the diffuse one, which I think that is actually the culprit here. Which for this it's going to need to be, I don't usually do a diffuse one for clothing, so all we'll need to do is I need to add like a copy button so that it copies the name automatically. Make a note of that. Because I think that's going to speed things up a lot. Excuse me. For a gas mask, I mean, there really is only one gas mask anyway, so most of the time, or for this case, that won't be a problem. So this will say NPC, and we'll give it a human face texture. I think that applied. That's strange. Is it automatically applying those materials? Let's hit clear. Oh. Okay. So we have a new... I bet it applied a mask on the human side. That's fun. Yeah, so it applied one on the human when I loaded it on the human side. Super fun. Okay, so let's try this again. So under here, we're going to apply a human face, and that will give us the diffuse one slot. And then here, let's go say gas mask, apply that, apply that, apply the normal, apply the spec, apply the rough, and don't apply the mask. Don't apply the mask there either. So then if we hit save, well, actually, hang on, because I also wanted to do, so the diffuse is actually this guy. There we go. So if we hit save, let's go see what monstrosity that gave us. Oh, and I bet it just saved as a player. It did. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that guy, which I have not added the ability to delete anything out of there yet. Not sure I really want to, but let's go ahead and delete that guy. And then, so what that should result in is this gas mask is now getting a diffuse 1 as well. And then the masks are getting set to null. So that should get it. So let's see if those feet show up and if that mask is actually correct now. All right. There we go. We got some zombie feet. And then there's our mask. Mask is working, sleeves are working. The shirt that's underneath there, that blue, that probably needs to go. And looks like my chest is back to, I thought I fixed that. I swear this torso armor is stubborn stuff. But we got the mask. Baby steps. Let's see here. I messed up. Okay. And then the utility belt and everything is back to normal, so let's go try some new things there. That might not be a bad solution. It's just trying to apply, instead of applying another clothing to the items that are stubborn, instead apply a skin material so that it gets the diffuse 1 slot as well. Because there's no way, again, without having the actual material data to see what they've assigned where, there's no way of knowing what slots, what texture slots are being used. So even though I applied clothing to this, it doesn't seem to actually be fixing it. So for this one, let's actually try, if we go in here and we say torso C. I like tooltips, but then I also hate tooltips. Glad they're in here, but they also get in the way a lot. Okay, so then let's go in here and say SH NPC, and we'll apply a face to the armor as well. And then let's go under here. So for my texture, I'm going to do this, also this darker one for now. And I might also in the future go in here and try to find one that's a little bit more rusty. Interesting that, let's go and apply this now. So we'll give it the shape, give it the rough, no mask. Yeah, like that. Have a good one. Thanks for joining. Hope you have a great weekend. Let's try the same for our utility belt here. Instead of applying clothing, let's say, so we'll go in here and say worker equipment. There's only one, so we don't have to worry too much about it. We'll copy this, and we'll say sh npc. Thank you. And then this is selected, so let's give it the freak nightmare fuel. And then we'll go in here and say, do this for diff 1 as well. And then here we'll say worker equipment, spec, worker equipment, rough, worker equipment, mask, clear, clear. We'll add the occlusion back. Okay. So we'll hit save. And let's see if that got it. There we go. So then for both the armor and the tool belt, you can see we now have working. So I'm guessing it really is based on the diffuse.
So, what are you hoping?
The diffuse map 1.
People are generally
So I need to
scared of
set
but one pilgrim saved my life.
I was a pilgrim. Now I'm
that bottom
infected.
clothing,
It'll be much harder to travel.
and then also
Welcome
that
to your
decal
new
came
beginning,
back.
my friend. Check out this place. They're like treasure chests.
I
Easy
swear
to
that
put stuff in 'em.
decal
Check it
was
out. I'll wait.
disabled. If we go in here and read the file, go in here and say oh, okay. I guess it got reapplied somehow. So let's say here, let's make sure that it's set to null. Let me save this again. It's null. Okay. Then this torso chest that I have in here, it's getting like this blue texture. Let's go here and we say we won't go too heavy on like, we'll give it like, no, that doesn't repeat. If we say like worn, it's like a ceramic, say white. Dirt. It's actually pretty good. It's like a, I mean, it looks like, right there at the top kind of ruined it for me. So if we go in here, are any of these relatively okay? That one's okay. Let's say cloth. If we just do like a specific color of cloth, maybe we can find one that looks old. Kind of also like just doing a camo. Let's do something like this, and then we'll apply this to both slots just in case it's also using a diffuse one. And then I think the scarf is actually looking okay. So maybe let's continue onward. So next we'll say for like don't get to use this guy enough. So then let's go in here and say, wonder if we can find one that looks, if we say metal, doesn't look too bad, doesn't exactly wrap properly there. Something like that looks pretty good. And then we'll probably remove the spec so that it looks more, we can maybe even add like a, what's that one for, yeah, maybe add like this spec for the rust. And then I think what they did was, I think the textures I still have in here are from the older one. I think what they've done, because I was noticing they look a lot juicier. I was running that a second ago. So if we go in here and say skinny, and then let's go to here into textures and say skinny. Maybe I missed the update. Or missed those specific textures. Let's go ahead and hit save on this guy. And let's go check him out. Let's see what we got. Gonna have to break here in a second, go grab some dinner. Ooh, I like the helmet. That looks really good. The spec map does a lot. Yeah, definitely. And if anything, I might want to add the spec map to some other things, but we'll add a little diversity in there first. I set that chain to off. And yes, that is what they did. So there's no longer any more dried out looking guys. They're all wet. Kind of sucks. And the spec map is way too high. I mean, guy looks like he just crawled out of the frickin' river. And then the green. It's almost like the green is layered underneath the blue, so I'm guessing they're applying a gradient to this. But to be honest, it doesn't look bad. Looks pretty good, honestly. Yeah, the meat on this guy. I mean, that's like... It's like I have him in an underground, direct lit... Okay, well... Part of me thinks I'm going to end up missing some of the more dried out looking guys, but... Okay, so let's make sure the chain is gone, because it's in there for some reason. So let's go here to our equipment. And yeah, I wonder why it keeps getting added back for whatever reason there. Because that stayed null. So it must be losing some of the like null properties every now and then. Chain null. Okay. What's off now? Okay. So, man, I just can't get over that meaty skin. That looks completely different. I'm going to get those textures and bring them over. For the pants, let's now switch to these pants really quick and say worker legs. Now that this is saved, actually, I think I'm going to try those legs. Those are perfect. Switch the category back to no, because I might want to try. So what are those? Those are the charger legs, I guess. Yeah. Those are the banshee legs. So the viral, I know that, well, those actually fit. And so, yeah, those actually look good. So what I would do is this is why I was doing this earlier. Well, the boots are going to be a problem, it looks like. So you can go in here and set this to null, which will then show the skinny legs in there. The torn part we want to leave. So it just looks like I can't remove the actual, like, the boots. And so I'm going to have to keep looking here. I think those are female pants, yeah. I'm basically looking for ones that have, yeah, like the tears and the decals, but then also have, because it's like one or the other. You're getting like, either you have the tears or you have the boots. Guess I could also do like destroyed pants. Let's see what all we can remove here. So we can get rid of the boot. We can get rid of the fat legs. And they're way too big. But they're baggy. Let's actually switch over from infected. Let's switch over to human again. And then, no. That's why I gotta check as I go. Clear, load. Load. Okay, now let's go back, say human. So, and actually let's test really quick. Is it my null values that are just not sticking around? So hit save. Null. Yeah, so the chain popped back up. Huh. So it's like specifically the null values aren't always sticking around. Okay. And then anything else? Yeah, I think that was it. Just literally that chain for whatever reason. All right, back to what I was doing here. So on the legs, it moved them on me. So to make sure I have the right ones here, yeah. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm looking for, oh, come on. Did it change anything? No, it was just that pocket. Okay, so basically I'm looking for ones that have shoes. Technically, maybe I could add a freight into these. Yeah, I like those better because they already look like they're kind of falling apart. Maybe if we add... Just gonna kill the shoes, and then on the pants, I guess it just kind of did make them dirty looking. I wish I could add the tears to them though. If maybe I added like a clipping mask. We say tear. This is also not going to show up. And I'm not entirely sure. I mean, the chances of there being a clipping mask that works perfectly with this UV is like little to no chance. So probably not. But okay. So this would be an example of kind of our undead soldier look. One of many. Let's go in here and we'll say save one more time. Let's go check him out in the engine or in the game. See what he looks like. So those pants look a lot more like these, I don't know. They don't look worn really at all. They look like they're like sweatpants kind of thing. So they definitely have like more of a sweatpant quality to them. So I'm gonna actually go back to the drawing board on that one. Let's see. This one. Nope. It's this one. Technically, very little clipping. I do like that. It gives it a lot of... Kind of looks like the pant legs have been messed up. Little Huck Finney. Let's see. No, if only the shoes came off of that one. There's got to be a pair of like actually like torn pants that also have shoes that could be removed. Really is going to be the worker pants. These are going to be too big. There we go. It really is going to end up being those, I think. Okay. And then for the skin, I'm actually really curious how much I can get away with here using the new ones that they created. If I go in here and do something like remove the spec map, maybe that will make me like them more. Let's go to the torso, say, open this up, remove the spec map, and then last, I guess, is the head. Claims it doesn't have one, but just in case, we'll go ahead and set that to null. And then let's hit save. Because that actually could be a good way of setting like a dried out look on these guys. If you could just remove the spec. And then I guess the legs as well. Because I did notice that. They look really, how you say, moist. Okay. See if that's more what I'm looking for here. No, it still shows up. Damn. And then also, it looks like that has been restored, but that's strange. Go in here and say legs equipment. Did it do the thing again where we have two of them? Yeah, it's interesting. So reapplying that, let me see if it, no, so it really did. It's just losing that data in between somehow. I'm gonna have to like try to break it a few more times, I think, and just see what's causing that. So if we say worker, equipment, and it may also have to do with like actually how it's loading the data back in to ensure that it's loading properly onto the into the different slots. And then everything would have really fallen off of these guys, so I guess maybe the last detail, maybe I can add like a biomarker to him or something. If one will fit. I don't know if one will actually go on him. Do like a red biomarker. And let's just see what that does.
So, why are you helping me?
I know people are generally scared of you guys, but one pilgrim saved my life.
I was a pilgrim. Now I'm infected. It'll be much harder to travel.
Then welcome to your new beginning, my friend. Check out this place. They're like treasure chests. People hide a lot of things in places like this, in case someone can't make it back to a shelter before dark.
What's that?
Come on, come on. Stop.
Yeah, so the biomarker doesn't actually work on the skinny biters, which is interesting. I wonder if they have a variant, maybe the female variant of the biomarker actually does line up. Let's go and say human, woman, and then say... The good news is that's accurate. That looked to be about exactly where it was. No, because the female one is all the way up there, so that's okay. So that is our first pass at this guy. What I'm going to try to do here in the future is make an easier way to kind of randomize specific pieces. So like for this guy, we'll do a final version here. We'll do, if we go in here and say biter, say biter, military, skinny, 01, and we'll actually tack on, there we go. Class is going to be fighter. And then for each one of our components, if we go in here to like our mask here, it's going to be under yeah, so definitely some things not quite how I would like them. Let's go and hit save. Yeah, it's definitely losing data in between there. So if we go in here and say, let me just read the save file though. Yeah, probably the best thing to do is just like as you're working, just make variations as you go until I figure out why exactly it's losing that in the context. Because obviously the visuals are applied. And I do think if I go in here and I say, if I go back to NPC Abdul and I hit save, I go back to him. I think it's got all, no, see it's lost most of, well, it lost the gas mask, probably because we've been been sitting here messing with it though. So if I go in here and say load, clear, and we'll load it on the human side. Maybe it has something to do with like how it's being saved as either the infected or human. Yeah, it's losing that when it's loading. So still some work needed to kind of refine the different elements. Definitely one of those, like, as you're making the different ones, it definitely helps to just go through and make the actual variation files while you're making it. So if we say save variation, yeah, because at that point it's applying the materials, but it has lost the actual data. So it's not loading that data back in. So, which is interesting, because I assumed all of that would have been dealt with by now. Because if I go in here and I hit, oof. Yeah, so that's what it is that it's now properly reapplying those things when it's loading the data, but for some reason it is not actually recording that output, and I'll be very interested to see why, considering the amount of data that I have here. So threads to keep pulling at, and I'll keep working on why that is the case. I was able to get all the way through the process of making that one individual. The problem is that now loading that one individual back in and making variations will obviously be a challenge unless this data is all actually getting loaded back in correctly. So I'm going to be very interested to see if I can actually use the data that I created here, because as long as you don't overwrite your original file, all that data is properly loaded and saved, or it should be properly loaded in here. So I'll continue to work on making sure that that data is loaded in and then is able to be immediately saved. And I think part of it has to do with switching between infected and human, because technically I'm not sure that the way that I'm storing the changes, I'm not sure it would survive, because every time you clear, if you change the slider here, it's wiping that information. It's wiping certain parts of that information so that it doesn't get used over and over again. So I think the new approach will probably try to load variations. Maybe I need to redo the variation process to where you can store and share variations. I've always wanted to bring that element into this anyway, but maybe it's about sharing and storing those variations, and then when you're saving it and then loading, it actually loads and sets the variation data on the sliders as well. I think that could get complex real quick. So I'll have to keep looking at that. But well, thank you guys for everybody who tuned in and watched over these last couple hours. Thank you guys for joining. Onward and upward, still lots of small progresses across a big system. Thank you guys for your support, and I look forward to hearing your guys' feedback. And until next time, happy gaming.